so the kind of madrasa, and so now all this one go a long way to tell us the kind of things, roles you have to play as a parent. Now, when I talk of a parent in this context now, you can instill in your child, you can't say you want your child to have Iman when yourself you are lacking Iman. Therefore, the first step to nurture Iman in our children for us to call have Iman. Fakidu shehi la yu'tihi. What you don't have, you cannot give. On top of Iman here, we are talking of connecting Allah right in your heart, knowing that Allah is everything. So that belief should be in you, your deep belief in Allah. So nurturing Iman in the child start with the parents themselves. Second thing is that you have to understand your roles. The father has to know his own roles, which basically is masuliyatul infaq wa masuliyatul ri'aya. The role of ensuring that the father makes sure that he provides for the family. He ensures that he provides shelter. He ensures that the physical environment is safe. All the expenses, the attention that may affect the home from external front, the father holds that very role. And for the wife, Islam says that masuliyatu tarbiyatul awlad wa tadbir shu'un al-bayt. The woman's major role is what? Child training, child rearing, child upbringing, as well as managing the home. These are the major role of a woman. There's no confusion about it. There's a clear definition of the lines are drawn, and there's a line of complementary roles they have to play. As far as the child is concerned, the mother is in charge of the training, the father is in charge of the provision of what to assist the training. Then, the other thing we have to note here, according to Quran chapter 3, verse 35, Surah Al-Imran, is that dua. Before the child is born, dua. When you are carrying the child, dua. When you are going back to the child, dua. Dua is something continuous to the child that you have to note. In Surah Al-Imran, we have the story of mother of Maryam who said that who tells Allah that Allah, whatever I have, what I have in my womb, I commit her to your service. Of Batin Muharraran, I commit it to your service. He was expecting a boy, and I gave her a girl. We saw how she prayed while she was pregnant. She had a vision of the kind of child she wants. So that one is important. When a woman is pregnant, she starts to think of what kind of child do I want. She starts to imagine it, and she must try to link the child with that of spirituality too. The dua is important. Prophet Ibrahim, we saw several places he prayed, Abli, Rabbi Habili Mina Salihin, Rabbi Ja'ali Makima Salah, in Surah Ibrahim. So prayer is one of the elements you have to consider in getting prepared to nurture Iman in your child. And in Surah Al-Tahrim, verse 6, Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ku anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Allah says, oh believers, you have to safeguard yourself, your soul, your family, your children, your wife from what? From hell. You can see that there. Allah gives a consequence of not caring for the child as hell. That one too shows that the parents have to play a great role in nurturing money in their children. Then the last thing I will mention there, because of our time, is that the influence of Shaitan. The modern times, they are spread everywhere, the way things are happening. The spiritual confusion, spiritual crises everywhere and there. Shaitan, right from inception, has never left man alone. When husbands get married, they say the prayer, they say, Alama Jadebina Shaitan. To let us know that the jinn are there, they are not leaving us alone. When the child is equally born again, the prayer you have to say, the prayer for seeking refuge for the child is equally there. Meaning that it does not leave the child alone. So we need to look at that phenomenon of spirituality, history of Islam or history of humanity. Look at Noah and his son. Look at his father for Allah, the son against Allah. Look at Adam. Look at Qabil against Allah and the father for Allah. Look at Yaqub. Look at the children. Look at what happened. All this one requires that if Qabil had deep iman, he would have done what he did. If Noah's son had the iman, he would have refused to follow his father. That is the fourth point I'm making about that. The fifth point now is what? The realities of today. One is that tech is a reality. technology. The trend is changing every day. It's a trend in technology, whereby it is engaging the children. So that's why it is very dangerous now. Technology is now engaging them not to have time for their creator. It's like technology is now becoming their new creator. So how do you, as parents, ensure the children are not affected by this also? That is one angle. Then spread of music, movies, games, and the like. They are distractions for the child to move on properly. If it's not properly controlled, then the issue of parents too, you have to go to work, husband has to go, wife has to go. Job places too affect the attention for the children, which can affect their growth of iman. And of course, I mentioned earlier too, the issue of the environment. Now, with these very few backgrounds I've given, we now want to mention a kind of bullet form or briefly how we can actually nurture iman in our children. It's assumed that some of us or most of us have children already who, of course, are already training, alhamdulillah. It's assumed that some of us are planning to have children. How can we do it? Whatever assumptions it is, either you have or you don't have, is relevant for everyone. The first thing I want to emphasize here is that, one, the intention for having the children is part of nurturing iman in the child. We see that, Prophet said that you should marry and bear children. So you have it in mind that my child that I want to have, the child that I shall have, shall be among those that will promote the khilafah of Allah on earth, promote ubudiyah, promote the cause of Allah, the cause of Islam. So your imagination, your vision of the child, even unborn, is that you want a child to be among those who assist the world. That's number one. Number two now is that we are told that the first 2,000 days of a child's life is very important. And that's why, even at pregnancy, there was a case of a woman somewhere that she was pregnant and she was reading a book. She was carrying the book on her stomach, she was reading it. They asked her that, what are you doing? She said she's reading to her baby. So there's something wrong with a pregnant woman to at times do some dua. You rub over your stomach or tummy, or you make dua as you want to. It's a spiritual preparation for this, because the task of child bringing is not so easy at all. It's very Herculean for those who know what it is, all this all about. Therefore, we need to become very concerned about the first 2,000, for the first 2,000 days of the child. That's about 5 years and a half. We would have entered kindergarten by then. We need to know that, because that's the time when the child builds his future, his brain, his physical, his emotions, all these things are built at that. We are even told that per second, the neural connection of the brain is formed almost every 1 minute. You have about 1 million, over 1 million formed per second in the first 1,000 days. So that's the time they need more attention, where we now have to start to inject into their brain Quranic words, Islamic words, the dhikr, the dua, all those things have to be going on. As we are saying, they are hearing, they are saying. It will be sinking and affecting the brain's psyche of the child, which of course is outside. You may not see the effect, but because it's a spirituality, it will affecting the child gradually. So if you're able to achieve this, the first 2,000 days, you are available for the child. The Quran is being played every now and then in the house. The weddings in the house, it's not music, it's not noise, it's not disturbance, it's not fighting between husband and wife. Then it's going to affect the child spiritually as it's now growing later in life. Then you need to start reading the Quran. At the time you carry your baby, you read the Quran. Don't assume that, because in the Samuel al-Basra, the child will hear. They develop their hearing before their sight. So that's one to read the Quran every time, conditioning the child to Islamic things and everything around you there. It will go a long way to help the child. Then when we make azan, let them hear the azan. When they start growing at whatever age, maybe 3 or so, let them making the azan. Even they are faltering, it's a way of training them gradually to be saying those things. Then at a point when they can understand little by little, based on the age, you tell them good stories about the prophet in a very short form. As they grow, you will be expanding the story. The stories will deepen the iman in the child. Like so of Ibrahim now. Ibrahim, you can just tell, depending on the age of the child, Ibrahim was a great man, was a good child to his parents. Because he has faith in Allah, he wants to do this for Allah. Ibrahim was a good person because of associating, was throwing fire. I did not die there. You teach iman from that very one. Yunus was a great person, because he had iman, the whale carried him for 3 days, he still vomited him out again because he had iman. Yusuf had iman because of those things. You use them to teach iman to the child to believe in them. Then at age 7, Prophet says that your child, he says, teach them to start to observe Salat when they attain 7. This is spirituality. And that's one, though before 7, they should have been taught, they should have been seeing you pray, they should have been imitating you, they should have been copying you, should have been going to the mosque together, you should have been doing a lot of things together. So that's what is very important. Prophet and his sons, Ali, Hassan, and Hussein, we all read how they used to come to the Prophet. Even when he's praying, they will climb over him. He will remain there. One time he was praying, they climb over him. He stayed for a long time. When we wondering what happened, as Prophet even died. Later now told that no, his grandsons that were on him, he wanted to stop their play. You can imagine the connection of Islam with spirituality. Even in fiqh, when you are even attending prayers and you hear the cries of babies, you are meant to shorten recitation so that the mothers will not be disturbed. All this shows the concern of Islam for the children. At age 7, we have to realize that every stage of a child is something you should have planned. At age 7, at age 5, at age 8, age 9, there are some researches that have been done on what the language vocabulary should have been, what emotional things should have been, and so on and so forth. All these things we have to let them realize, because at that stage, the brain, after the first 5 years, it can't be like the first 5 years when it's not 7, 8, 9, and the like. So that means you have to know that age 7, you should have known how to pray correctly. You should have been able to call azan. You're able to read the Quran. Even in some countries, by age 8, they've also finished memorizing the whole Quran. So it's a stage you have to introduce them to more spiritual things, and so on and so forth like that. The next thing there is what you start to pray together. You pray together. You teach them. You put the words on their tongue. Telkin. Or teach them how to do dua. I say after me. Well, in Yoruba, you can say it. If in English, you can teach them. Arabic is the best. You teach them how to make those to Allahumma. You say Allahumma. Then you be teaching them as they start to pick words. In fact, if you can achieve that, the first word your child utter is what? Kalima of Allah, either Allah or La ilaha illallah or things like that. It is a spiritual achievement at that stage of the child's life. That's why even when a child is born, while welcoming the child, you remember that you call the azan to the ears. It's another way to tell us that spirituality is very, very important. Then you start to teach your child Quran very early. You don't start with Alif Bata, you start with what? Teaching the real recitation. Alhamdulillah, all those things be the register that the child will grow to really like and enjoy. Then at a stage 2, based on how the child grasps the message, we start to teach the child pillars of the deen, articles of Iman, talk of Al-Jannah and the enjoyment, talk of reward, these are things you start with. Not Sharia of you cut the hand or you cut the leg. No, you talk of Iman, talk of Al-Jannah, talk of things like that. Story of the Prophet, story of the very great Muslims. This will go a long way to help the child also. You keep on connecting the child with Allah. It's very, very important to help a lot to develop the child. Allah's 99 names, some of the meanings, Allah's punishments. The children books, there are several children books that you introduce to the child. You buy them colorful ones, you get for the child, you will read, you read together at times, they will read, you will discuss, they read to you. Then you can introduce testing the child. That is to actually know whether he's actually getting the message. You have to design your method of testing the child, to test his honesty, to test his will you pray so that when you're not around. Can't be your small phone or camera to just know what the child is doing when you're not there. This should go a long way to know where the child is lacking. Then rhymes, they are very important. You compose rhymes or you buy books of rhymes, let them memorize the rhymes so that these are alternatives to him memorizing all those rubbish, all those bad music. So we have enough rhymes for the child that are very good. Some have been recorded already. Then you go along to help the child. Then dua. You have to start teaching your child every dua. Dua before to eat, after eating, you want to sleep, after sleeping, you want to wear your clothes. So you write and hang on the wall. All these things, there's the stage the child needs them. So that you'll have used to them automatically. He wants to eat, he will do those things. And you have to choose the etiquettes too. Etiquettes of Rasul, you teach them gradually. You want to eat, you wash your hands, you do this, you do that. You want to sleep, you do this. All these things, we have to get the time used to them doing dua. Teaching them all the dua. The child's brain can take everything. They're not too much for the child. They can memorize the whole Quran, the whole hadith, everything. Child brain can carry everything. So we need to just get that one done, teaching them those who are and on like that. That is the tender age of the child as children. As they now enter age 9, age 10, age 10, Prophet now teaches that you say when they sleep now, if you have male and female, they should not sleep together. And when they don't even pray at this stage, they should flog them. This is a lesson that, okay, as parents, as teachers, you have to let the child realize every stage of his life that I've mentioned. Age 7, what is expected. Age 10, what is expected. At puberty, what is expected. For example, some children will attain puberty very early. The girls, 10, 11, they are already mature. Some boys will be 13. At that stage, you need to sit the child down and discuss mukallaf. You have to explain to them clearly that now, my child, you are mukallaf or mukallafa, somebody who is now bound to make sure he observe all the fundamentals of Islam, of the deen. Your salat is not compulsory. You must observe them, so and on like that. So that they will understand this. You will explain the consequence to them. If you fail to do it also, it has consequence. These and many more are ways by which you can teach your child. You can make the iman be in them. But most importantly, is paying that to be kudwa. When you are kudwa, you're always doing the right thing. Doing the right thing will help the child a lot. Because if we don't do it, just commanding them, go and pray on salat, go and pray on nafla. You too don't do it, the child will not imbibe anything. But we are doing it even without telling them, they want to copy their parents. They want to see how you do it. You wake up at night, they wake up seeing you praying tahajjud, you're already reading the Quran. But in a case whereby you're as a parent, they only see you carry the Quran, you only be commanding them, go and carry your Quran, go and carry your Quran. Nafla, you pray your own salat, you have stood up already, you're already pressing the phone, you're on laptop, you don't pray nafla. The zoo no nafla, actually no nafla. And it's a weekend, you're not going anywhere. They are watching you. So when you start to pray enough, you're 4 before Zulu, 2 after Zulu, like that. They are watching. When I ask them to go and do it, they'll find it easier to do because their fathers do or their mother is doing it also. So it's very critical that we should be good one for our children, models. That's where they learn most. Try to just do the right thing. They see you doing it. For example, you want to eat, you say the prayer aloud. They are learning, they are picking it. So that before each 10, you'll have mastered and memorized those zikri and dua, and everything is going on fine. That is one angle to nurturing iman in our children. The second angle is that these children now, you have to teach a higher level of iman, whereby how to live in life and enjoy life. The world of the unseen, they have to, because the articles of faith now, for that of Allah, you need to really find ways by which you let them understand who Allah is as one, as a creator, as a nourisher, as the owner of everything, of the day, of the night, of jinns, of men, of angels, how nobody can kill him, how he's unique. That one has to be instilled in them. Then you move to the angels too. That angels have been created to be in charge of all that we do. With that very one, you have taught the child to be conscious of wherever he finds himself, so that he will not be doing evil or anything haram. Then you talk of the other aspect of what, apart from that very the angels, we talk of destiny in life and how things happen. So these articles of faith, you have to explain the implications to the children and the implication of being a Muslim. Then you need to introduce the children at a stage to a program outside the home where they can interact with others and learn more things that can equally promote their deen. Not just a matter of restricting them not to go to any place. You have many programs, many camps they can as well attend, and that will assist them to move on. The third part is that the external angle of the deepening iman in your child is to be very keen of who are the friends of my child, because the friend of your children can affect their Islam. In a case in your own house, you are trying that will permit you, but other houses, other places, they are liberal about it, so that will affect the child. If it's a type that wants to equally be free from any obligations, so that's why you have to watch where do they go, which school do they go. So because where they go can destroy the few things you have taught them. That is why when you talk of nurturing iman in children, it's part of your duty to ensure that they don't follow friends who are just playful and, libertine, because they can corrupt the child. They do corrupt, really. Not just they can, they do. And that will be a minus for the efforts you have made so far on your child. That one too is an area you have to focus in teaching, in nurturing iman in your children. There's some basic things the child must understand, because the iman must reflect in his moral life. That means you have to teach the child Islamic social values of being as a male or as a girl, relationship and the likes. You have to teach them as they advance in life and they move on. All these and more are the ways by which you can nurture iman in your child. Because today is not so easy for children, because things are changing, things have changed. Social dynamics are not helping matters at all. Unlike many 30 years back or so, or 40 years back, when children had their mothers fully at home, but now it's a different thing entirely. Everybody's outside the home. Unlike then, when there were no distractions like all the screens, the iPad, the plasma screen, the mobile phone, all this kind of, you're not there. Because they were not there, children had, their attention was not distracted. They were more of natural things they do in crafts and the like. But now, all those things are available. So when you're not even at home, that's what engages them. So that's why you have to know that it's part of nurturing money in them to understand what they are going through. Unlike then, when those things were not available. These things being available now will necessarily affect the children. That's why you now need to explain to them the iman of using those things and how it affects their hereafter. These and many more are the ways by which we can nurture iman in our children. So on this note, I want to pause there, since I want to expect that there will be questions since the time is so specified. We ask Allah in infinite mercy to forgive us and God us all right, make our children apples of our eyes. And of course, every salat, every dua, every tilawah, every khatim in the Quran, you must be praying for a child so that Allah can answer your prayers on them and make them apples of your eyes. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan ya Sheikh. I will give thanks to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has made it easy for our stars to deliver that lecture in a very summarized form. And I believe he did that because he knows he's talking to people of thinker and caliber who are intellectuals, so they can easily expatiate some of these points and get to understand what he's saying. Now, because of time, we are going to give room for questions. For those of us who are willing to send your questions, you can send it to the chat box. And if you want to ask verbally, you can raise up your hand and I'll call on you so that you can ask. As I'll be waiting for questions to come in, we want to use this opportunity to recognize some of our special guests again, like the mother of the day in person of Ajia Shakira Juma. I think she is around. You can say Teslim to the house. Bismillah. You can unmute yourself and say Teslim to the house. Okay, in case we also want to introduce one of our fathers and our stars, and that is no other person than Sheikh Abdulwahid Shitu. He has been part of us when the lecture was going on. We will recognize you. And if you are with us, please, you can say Teslim to the house.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan ya Sheikh. Also recognize one of our stars in person of Ustaz Muhammad Abdul Salam. He was also with us when the lecture was going on. Please, if you're still with us, please kindly say Teslim to the house. Okay, I think we have a question. Somebody is raising up his hand, and I would like to call the person. Okay, that's the person of Sister Balkis Hassan. I think she has a question to ask. Please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So when the guest lecturer was talking about both the father and the mother that should be present in the upbringing of a child, in a way that the father has been an absent father, is not contributing maybe for financially or any otherwise for the upkeep of the boy, and it's only the mother that was able to do all the necessary needs, and the mother was not putting much effort in directing the boy to go and pray, because before he comes back from work, he would have been much tired. So many things would have full his chest for him to train the boy otherwise. But the boy is going to the, what's it called, secular school. Both the Christian and Muslim are both in that school. So I want the Sheikh to put more emphasis on it, on how to upgrade the boy, on how to train the boy so that he can be a spiritual and more sound boy. I want him to put more effort on it.
Inshallah. Ustaz, before you answer some of our questions, we want you to take note that we have people from different parts of the world attending this program. We have people from US, we have people from UK, we have people from Canada, and likewise Nigeria. So that, I think, will also shape the kind of answers you are going to give to some of us so that we can have a very broader view. So before you answer that question, I think I have two more people. Let's quickly take our questions, and please let our question be a very summarized one so that we can have enough time for the answers. I have Khalid. Please, Khalid, if you want to, can go ahead with your question. Please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question. I can see your hands up, Khalid. Okay, as we are waiting for Khalid to do that, we also have Malam Abdul Qadri. Your hands is up. I think you. Okay, wa alaikum salam too.
I just want to ask the Sheikh, at what stage can we start beating our children?
Okay. So I think Ustaz, you can go ahead with the two questions now, because the third person is not responding, maybe because of network issue or something like that. Please.
May Allah assist us. Environments, Nigeria, Canada, UK, US will of course affect children training, because like US is liberal, for example. Hello? Okay, so the environment will definitely affect children. That is why wherever you live, you have to study the environment and see how you can be careful about how you manage the child. There are some countries now, the Child Rights Act is in full force. That's the level you can go in some things about your children. That is one angle to it. Now, in the case of the questions who asked, child going to a conventional school of Muslim and Christians, that not contributing as expected, because maybe at time goes to work, he's tired when he's back, the mom is shooting everything. It's a big problem. It's a big problem that, because the first thing is that as far as Allah is concerned, that's our own problem. Either the father is not doing well. That Allah doesn't want to know those ones at all. The child, Allah kept the child with him. We said we wanted a child. Allah blessed us with a child. So we have to give it the attention it requires. The job we do, everything that we do, they are secondary to Allah. The child is a noble gift Allah does not toy with at all. So what we can do, one is, when the child goes to school, that the first thing, if you can avoid that, going to schools where it's not really Islam, but if you cannot have some areas at times, you have the luxury of Muslim schools now accepted. What you now have to do is that the father has to rise to responsibility. It's his job to fend for the family, to contribute, to make sure he provides you the feeding, the shelter, and all that things like. It's the mother's job. That's Islamic position. It's the mother's soul to train the child. Child has to pray. Child has to be morally conscious. Is the mother's task in Sharia. Father will only oversee where things are normal. But these days now, both father and mother are working. Look at the point I mentioned medically. The first 2,000 of a child. Most children, that's where they lost what they should have achieved. Now, some children at that age had no attention. Then what happens to them? The brain just withers and they waste that portion of their life because mother has to take the child to the crèche, he has to do other things, father is not available. So the mother is the owner of the child. She gave birth to the child from her womb. It's her task to ensure that the child does what it should do. In a case whereby now there's a weakness, there's a lacuna of, okay, that the mother at times doesn't understand the time as expected or she's not available, then they have to synergize them complementary rules because Allah will ask both of them about the child. Everybody will ask. Nobody can deceive Allah. He knows how to make proper judgment of who is at fault because the failure of a child is a failure that can affect the whole nation. That's why you can't just talk with that. I think in such situation, they have to sit down and see what they can do. What they can do further is, okay, probably they can try to look at maybe get a mentor for the child, get a center the child will be going, since you don't have the time. So, and that's one that we call it gender sensitive. If it's a male child, get a male mentor that you are sure of. If it's a female, get a female mentor, a female teacher, a female tutor that will at least have a love that can always engage the child, maybe in the evenings or during weekends. That is what I can say about that. May Allah assist us. Then second one is the issue of beating the child. It's an issue among the scholars that it is a very serious thing. Prophet mentions that when they are 10, فَضْرُبُوهُمْ عَلَيْهَا, meaning that at age 10 is when you can start to beat them. However, when it comes to training, there's a procedure for using cane in Islam. The first is not to start beating the child. You know, at some stages you need to beat the child. So cane will be available truly. One of the fiqh is that you keep the cane at a distance, the child can receive the cane as a kind of frightening the child. That's one method of the correction of the child. Second, if you have to beat at all, is the last resort. And that beating, if you must beat at all, it has normal, you cannot beat above. You can't beat above 10 if you must beat the child at all. But beating is not the main issue. The main issue is you see, most of us at times, we lack in what you should have done. When we now fail to do what you should have done, the child now grows wings. When they now grow wings, we now want to force what we should have done on them. That's what happens in most instances, because the attention they need, they were not given, there was no time for everything. So anybody who wants to beat his own child must be very careful on how he does that very well. But the hadith says that when they are 10, but the nubuhum alayha, when they don't pray. But if you feel your fiqh, you want to, this child requires African touch in a little way. In some countries, you can't just beat the child, like America, for example, now. You dare not beat a child anyhow. So may Allah assist us. Jazakumullah khair.
Well, we have other people raising up their hand. I think Khalid, your hand is still on. If you want to ask your question, please, you can go ahead. Okay, while we are still waiting for we have another person in person of Sheikh Ahmad Akorede. Your hand is up. Please, you can go ahead with your question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think I have two questions. So the very first one is, when Ustaz was talking initially, he mentioned the effect of technology, ICT, the realities of ICT, technology, and stuff like that. Now, my question is, at this age, where you want to raise an all-round complete child that has the capability to interact intellectually, in the environment. Now, what's going to be your advice with respect to allowing the child to make use of IT tools like laptop, like iPad, tablet, either for doing assignment or for personal learning, okay, or for someone who wants to learn maybe all this coding, robotics, and stuff like that? That is my very first question. Now, the second question is, with respect,
I'm not getting you.
If I may relate, I really beat, but I was so sensitive to some.
It's breaking. It's breaking. I can't get.
Wow. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Okay, now I'm hearing you now.
Okay, so I was saying that the second question has to do with an incident that happened with my child. Though I rarely beat him, even though I beat, but there are some crimes, there are some crimes that I don't want to give a second chance for him. For example, there was a day he left school and he had to follow maybe some of his friends to places we do not know, such that eventually he came home around 7, 8 in the night. So when he narrated the whole scenario, I just have to bring out, I beat him mercilessly so that he knows that if there is anything he can do, he does not have the audacity to follow anybody home for whatever reason. So in such a situation, what could you have advised? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. So, Ustaz, please.
All right. And on the first one of iPad, the use of laptop and the like, the point is very straightforward. Monitoring and control situations. See, the children these days, they are very smart and we can't take chances on that one too. So yes, agreed, is a reality of the day. But when they are children, they can misuse and abuse it. So the parent or the teacher wants to make them expose them to that, they must do those under monitoring. Because one day exposure that is negative can destroy the child's future for life. That's why we can't just take chances about that. So there's nothing wrong with children getting used to them, but if under monitoring, and of course we watch it very well. That is what the number now, but some make mistake of, okay, because I'm rich, my child must have a personal phone when I'm around to monitor them. That is all this, what do you call it now? All this Android, whatever. Now, it's okay. But if that time we have games, that's really less. This thing is a real thing that affects children. 8 years already having Android phone, doing everything, going to many sites, Facebook, doing a lot of things. Then when you're not at home, then this will be destroyed in different ways. That went out and came back and don't. I think the point is that Prophet is small, is our mentor. So what the FQ says is that even when they do things wrong, the father will beat them in any way we want to do. Doesn't mean that they will change. They can just hide that spirit and another time do something worse. Is that we can't beat a child more than 10 strokes, and this is the prophet, only strokes or 80 strokes that are there, or ta'zir by the judge, by the Qadi of the Muslim court. Now, this kind of child, for example, now what we can do is to be preventive today. What our role will be that, okay, now, things that the children can do, we'll have preempted it, we'll have canceled them, doing maybe we have a kind of weekly interactions at home, a discourse, a kind of usra, and things like that. Then we'll have let them, things they can do, we'll have thought ahead. We'll have told them this, this. If at time you can make rules, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this. So that is one thing. The time you punish a child, you beat, he will feel the pain, but they can harden his mind too. So I think such a situation, one can be proactive about it, prevent, let them know that one doesn't allow such a thing. Besides that, very one, implications, security angle, you could be kidnapped, it could happen, and like that. Then, if at all punish, different punishment you can give them, they'll make them not to ever do that kind of thing again. But that of beating beyond history, that will be, those are children, but they are accountable to Allah too. So allow Allah.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. Now, sir, we have 2 questions. That's the 2 last questions. One, it was sent to you personally. So please, you need to check your chat box. The person sent a message to me that she has sent the message to you personally. So please. Then the second one is that somebody asked that what is the implication? What is the effect of Islamic school, madrasa, pious parents in child upbringing? So this is the last question. This is the last 2 questions for today's presentation, inshallah.
I think there is no, the fact is that earlier, there's a story there whereby the Quran says, Wakan Abuhuma Soleha. There's a case of a parent that have died, and Allah still used the value of the the parent to still assist the child by keeping the treasures. So on a child, when the parents are righteous, it will soften the heart of the child, unless allow to try somebody. When parents are righteous and virtuous, it helps a lot in reducing the stress on their children. It will listen to them easily. When the parents are eating haram, getting haram money, working around places, and they're not equally turning to Allah as expected, Allah can try them by that through their children. So that's why when one is righteous, it helps a lot to get the children to the life, our parents and ancestors, inshallah, together.
So, Jazakumullah khairan. So, have you answered the questions that were sent to you personally?
Jazakumullah khair.
Ustaz,
Now,
somebody sent a question to your chat box personally. I don't know if you have answered it.
let me just check there.
Yeah, you should check your chat box.
I should make it general answer, right? I've seen it.
Yes, I think, yes, you can make a general answer.
That my daughter uses hijab since primary school. As soon as she got to high school, 2 years later, she took it off hijab, and we are not sure. Now, that's one of the problems we face when they go to non-Muslim schools. I think the home has a lot to do. We should not rely on the school alone. Right from home, right from when they are 2-3 years, you must start to something will be you sing into their hearing. They must just value it from you at home. So in this case now, the child threw it off. There are many factors. Maybe our colleagues, our peers, it can even be teachers in those schools, if it's the kind of some schools, who will make her not to love that thing again. So it's not always easy when children have already kind of reacted against something. It's difficult going back. So it's always good to prepare them ahead, not to go back. In the case like this now, it's a matter of trying to, let us say, the wisdom that is Allah's commandment. So it depends on maybe that kind of school she's going. You want to know what kind of school, who are the teachers there, what could have happened, what should I even know what happened, go. Why did guide us to know what to do? So I think that's a matter of trying to know the cause. Then if you now know the cause, you can now talk, okay, this is the cause, what can we do? But that shows clearly that the child, something was already missing the child. That's why maybe that time she was using it, she has not actually understood it properly. She will now need to let her understand very well. Then we now keep on making other efforts. Allah Alam.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan, sir. We are very grateful to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has made this session a successful one. It's 10 o'clock. We are behind schedule with about 3 minutes, but we want to quickly seek our judges to pass the necessary information. The next monthly forum will be coming up on the 28th of August, and the topic of discourse is the power of choice by Dr. Nuruddin Olaleye, inshallah, we could write a lie. That is the information we have for ourselves. Now I'll call on my co-MC in person of Ustaz Musa Shomi to give us the vote of thanks and close dua for today's presentation. Bismillah.
Alhamdulillah, we appreciate our lecturer for the well presented lecture. I'm sure each and every one of us that pertain in this program would have gained one or two things. We pray Allah reward him for this he has done. Also, we appreciate each and every one of us for being part of tonight's program. May Allah reward us too. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Allahumma ati anfusana taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. Suratul Asr. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
إلى الذين
من الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan to everybody. We really appreciate the organizers and every one of us that has partake today. May Allah be with each and every one of us and be sufficient for us. Ameen.